Hi, I'm Paul J. Bennett, Canadian fantasy author, and welcome to my live stream. We're coming to you live from London, Ontario, in Canada. And you might notice I'm wearing a sweater because we've got some winter here. So the basement is where we film is a little bit chillier than normal. This week we're going to be talking about writing characters who endure. And as normal, we'll be taking questions and so on. Before I get started, if you want to know more about my books and the world in which my books take place, I invite you to visit us at pauljbennettauthor.com. We've got a bestiary there. We've got maps there. Of course, all the books are there. You can even get a view of the books in chronological order or in the order that they've been published in. So let's jump right in. Characters who endure. So for me, I always start a series with characters. When I'm planning out a series, it's usually the characters that I come up with first, and then I come up with what I'm going to do with those characters. So for me, characters are very, very important. In some cases, they're based on something I've taken from a role playing game. In other cases, they're just brand new characters that I've come up with concept for. Um, and what I've been doing lately for my newest series, I've gone online and actually created 3D versions of those characters through a website called Hero Forge. I'm not affiliated with them or anything. I just use them because it's a neat place. There's some other websites that do similar things as well. It's kind of nice having a three-dimensional view of your characters too. It helps you sort of imagine them in a scene, if you like. When I'm writing, I like to think of my story as a TV show or a movie, and I can imagine the scenes unfolding as I'm writing. So for me, the visualization helps a lot. But there's more to it than that because I delve into the background of the characters, explain where they are, how they got where they are, if they have any irrational fears, for example, or what sort of drives or motivates them. Once I've got that done, that gives me a much better idea of where the story is going to go with them or how the story is going to develop. um, Now, one of the things I will talk about is the idea of character growth. And character growth doesn't always have to follow a set formula. I mean, it's nice to see characters improving over time, of course, but not every single book has to have a character progress through a full story arc. For example, Heir of the Crown is going to end up with 15 major books. I can't have the character of Gerald go through 15 different cycles of life. Obviously, there are other characters that progress and advance, and I'll talk a bit more about them later on in tonight's discussion. So one of the things that we often find in the written word is, or at least in fiction, is the idea of overcoming adversity of some type. We kind of like our heroes to struggle. A good example of this, you look at pretty much, well, any superhero movie, really, if we want to use a really obvious genre. The hero has superpowers, yes, but they meet a villain, and the villain wins their first engagement. That's a fairly typical story arc. And then the hero has to figure out some way of overcoming that difficulty. And then, of course, they triumph in the end. So that's a very obvious story arc, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to bash superhero movies or anything, but it does illustrate very succinctly the idea of overcoming adversity. Now, in fiction, the adversity tends to come a little less obviously, perhaps, or perhaps it's more of an inner turmoil that they're struggling through as opposed to an external threat. So you can vary that quite a bit. Um, for me, when I was writing my first book, which is Servant of the Crown, which you see right here. Oh yes, you might notice there's a bunch of stuff here. I'll talk about that a little bit later too. Gerald is a man who's right from the very beginning, his life's not going so well. He's had a career, he's been through a lot. He's basically lost his career. He's been relegated to the middle of nowhere, but he still perseveres. He doesn't quit. He realizes he can't get back to where he was. But I think this is part of what makes him so endurable as a character. And I mean, he does endure. He goes through a major setback in his life, but also he's enduring in the sense that you want to root for this guy. He's had some tough times. You want to see him come out at the other end better off, but he's still got that past that sort of haunts him, and that is a very important part of the first book in the series. Even the second book in the series, Sword of the Crown, it shifts the focus to a different character, that of Beverly Fitzwilliam. She's the daughter of a baron. She really wants to be a knight. Her adversity, her hardship is a little different. She's trying to fit in to a society. She has an ideal of what makes a perfect knight, but she quickly comes to the realization that most knights don't reach that ideal. So she has to deal with other issues. And so that affects her growth as a character as well. And that's something that continues in most of my books. The main characters have to overcome some kind of hardship. I mean, they are, we've got to have drama to a certain extent in a book to make it the kind of book that you want. I think when you're trying to write a character that's compelling, you want to balance off the idea of strength versus vulnerability. It's, to me, an example is if you look at something now. Spoiler alert: I haven't seen the new Superman movie, but Superman as a character, how do you make him? He's invulnerable, literally. So how do you make him vulnerable as a character? Well, yeah, okay, you could argue that, kryptonite makes him vulnerable, but I mean, you can make someone vulnerable from a personal point of view. It doesn't have to be physically vulnerable. It can be emotionally vulnerable, depending on, what kind of a story you're writing and so on. Oh, we have some books coming in from the side in case I need them. Here, there we go.
Didn't prep them, sorry.
Put them here.
Maybe spine them out.
Yeah, spine them out. That's a good idea.
There.
Can you read them from there?
No, not really, but that's fine. But you have them there.
I have them here if I need them. That's right. Now, strength is pretty straightforward. Strength can be, though, measured in different ways. You can have a character who's physically strong, but generally speaking, when you're talking about strength, you want strength of character, right? When I write, I like my good guys to be, I shouldn't say guys, good people to be good. I'm not one for the morally gray. There's a few exceptions in terms of sort of background characters, but my heroes are, well, heroic. But they're heroic in a very, I guess I'd call it a British sort of sense. Or Canadian actually, because the attitude here is not about the hero charging into battle. It's more about pulling up your sleeves and doing the job that needs to be done in order to accomplish the objective. So that's that kind of working man's concept, I guess, is a good way of thinking of it, rather than being the amazing knight in shining armor that everybody looks up to. Although some characters do end up being seen that way, they don't necessarily see themselves that way. And I think that makes them a little more appealing. I think a little more reasonable in terms of accepting them as characters. You want people to be able to identify with characters, and that helps making them characters that readers want to go back to. I know certainly I enjoy going back to these characters because of the way they act and think, and you know, some of them like writing. There's one character, a secondary character named Albreda, who is very much. I really enjoy writing her character because she's a very powerful mage. She knows it, and she doesn't put up with fools.
Does not suffer fools gladly.
Yeah, does not suffer fools gladly, and she can be snarky, but she respects people who don't mess around with her, who treat her appropriately and so on. And you can tell through the story she has her favorite people that she kind of hangs out with that she'll accept, takes one under her wing, so to speak. So it's fun writing characters that can be like that because to some people this character could come across as being very harsh. But that also can make the character endearing as well, right? It's kind of like the grumpy old grandfather or something, or grandmother or whatever, that you might see in I don't know, in a Christmas movie or something.
In a Christmas movie?
Well, I'm just thinking of Christmas movies because, it's that time of year. All the Christmas
the
movies are
most
coming out.
wonderful time of the year. Sorry.
Now, oh, that's annoying. Just a second here.
That's okay. Well, while you're doing that, where iron meets wisdom has a question for you.
Sure.
They're curious. Do you recommend studying writing to be a good writer?
I'm not going to say no. I never studied writing. I just read a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary to study writing to become a writer. Can it help you? Maybe. I don't know. It depends maybe on what you're going to write, and what's involved in studying writing. Some places may stick to classic literature, for example, if you're studying writing. If you're writing a different genre, you want to, like, let's say you like to write horror, for example, you want to make sure that if you're going to take a course in writing, it's a course that will help you with that genre. Because there's no sense if you want to write a horror story, there's no sense in taking, lessons about writing classical literature, for example.
I'm actually going to disagree. I think any courses can help, but at the end of the day, practice is what makes perfect, and that's what editors are for.
Yeah, that's true. And you want to find an editor that's going to work with sort of your vision of what it is you want to write. What I'm trying to get at is there's lots of different ways you can learn to write, online courses, or even going to a university or college. But I would, if you were going to pursue that, I would maybe go in, talk to the instructor, see how the course is structured. Most of those outlines are going to be online, but if I want to write horror, I don't want to spend time writing Shakespearean plays, as
just learning to write.
Sure, the process of writing is still valuable, but if you're not comfortable, being told to write about something else, that might.
Well, you have to
be something to
learn the
reconsider.
base. A writing course is going to teach you how to write, and then you can write anything from there. Just like art, you learn all the different things about art,
you learn
and then
techniques,
you specialize, right? So
Sure.
if you're going through school and you're not very strong in your English or your grammar, yes, but there are things that you want to hit in a story, and you do it naturally, but not everybody's built that way. So it is an idea. If you're not sure how to write a story, it's a fantastic idea to go to school and take a course. But
Yeah, and it could help you learn about things like pacing, character development. So yeah.
Okay, you
Yeah,
can get
certainly a
back to
possibility
what
there.
you were talking about.
Where am I here? Oh, so why enduring characters don't always make the right choices. So this is another thing we see a lot in books and movies. In some cases, there you can have a hero that never makes a mistake, but then if your hero never makes mistakes, it feels like there's not as much risk. So you have to be careful of that. I'm not saying you have to have the heroes make mistakes. You don't. You just want to avoid falling into the trap of having someone be perfect all the time, because that perfection eliminates some of the risk or drama that may crop up in your story. Now, obviously, a lot of this is going to depend on what genre you're writing, so that'll be an influence as well. Um, so what kind of mistakes can characters make? It could just be something like a mistaken concept, or maybe they make a blunder in a battle or something if you're doing a fight scene. Perhaps they suffer a loss on the battlefield, or they lose a duel, or they're just outsmarted by the villain of the story. Um, there's lots of different ways in which characters can suffer setbacks, and they can make incorrect assumptions. Um, one of the things to remember as a writer is you know everything that's going on in the world. The characters don't necessarily know that. They have to make their decisions based on what they know, not what you as the author knows. So that kind of puts an interesting spin on things. They can come to conclusions that don't necessarily match what's actually happening. Now, some of that you can play with as well. If you're writing multi points of view where you can sort of flip between the bad guys and the good guys, it's very easy to sort of build that suspense. There's Alfred Hitchcock. It has a famous quote. I don't remember the exact quote, but he basically said, he was talking about building suspense. He said, you could have a bomb underneath the chair that goes up and blows up the chair. That's horrific. That's an explosion. But if you put the bomb under the chair and show the timer counting down while the person is sitting in the chair, that builds suspense. And you want to kind of do the same thing. Maybe your group of adventurers is heading towards just another town. Unbeknownst to them, you've set up another chapter with the evil villain who's planning an ambush or something along these lines. So you, as the reader, know, oh no, you're heading into a trap, right? The characters don't know that.
Players.
Yeah, well, it works in role-playing games too.
You use it all the time.
Yeah. So in a role-playing game, you don't generally get to see the view of the bad guys, but of course they have their own agendas and so on. Now, another thing to look at is, I mentioned earlier character growth. And I think it's good over the course of a book or a series to have character growth. It doesn't have to be the same character. You can have different characters growing. But one thing that often people forget is the secondary characters. The faithful sidekick, if you will, or just someone else who figures into the story somewhere. In the real world, everybody goes through stuff, right? You're in a sense, each individual is the main character in their own story. So really, if you're following Joe Schmo around, whatever he's doing, the people around him also have their own journeys that they're on. And sometimes it's kind of fun to bring them back into the story, maybe at a later date, and they've progressed somehow. Maybe they've, I don't know, gone up in rank in the army, or maybe they've gotten a bit of a reputation since you last saw them in the book or in a previous book or something along these lines. I've got lots of examples, especially in Heir to the Crown, since it's the longest series, where I've brought back characters. Sometimes you just need someone to do something or to say something. And it's much more interesting to pull someone back from the past and have them be the person that's doing stuff. I've got palace guards in Wincaster that crop up in a number of different places because I needed guards and I just didn't want to have a generic guard. So I thought, well, why not bring back these characters? They haven't
One's
been
name
used.
is Everard.
Everard Brenton, yeah.
Yes, yes. See, I remember. It's
And
almost like I've read all your
and
books.
he actually it shows up again in Victory of the Crown.
I haven't read
I
that one
was
yet.
just writing a scene with him in it, actually.
Yeah.
There's another character who starts life as a sergeant in the Winchester Light Horse, Captain or Sergeant Gardner. He eventually gets promoted to captain, and he's commanding a company, the very company that he used to be the sergeant in. So it's kind of fun to bring those characters back, rather than just have some generic, oh, yeah, there's just a captain here that you've never met before.
Yeah.
And he's going to fulfill this role in the scene.
So, Paul, you were just moving your arm,
Yes, I should probably talk about all the stuff beside me.
and I heard a little rustle there. What is all this stuff, other than your little cup of water?
Yeah, ignore the cup. The cup's not part of it. If you order a signed book from our website, pauljbennettauthor.com, we send a signed book. We send you a whole bunch of extra stuff.
Like
Now,
what?
this is a sample because some of these things change. We have a map. Right, there's two different maps you can get. This one's the map of Merceria because it's coming with Servant of the Crown, but we also have a map of the continent of Idenworth that you would get if you were ordering, say, Power Ascending or from the Frozen Flame. We also have a pencil. This is old school pencil, not a mechanical pencil. It has our logo on it there. Let the adventure begin.
Not quite logo.
Well,
Saying.
saying, I guess, would be more appropriate. We also have over here a recipe. This one is actually not the right one for this book, believe it or not. This is barn bread.
Oh, no.
So that should be actually with Power Ascending. Barn bread features in Warrior Knight,
Yes.
which is book 2 in the series.
And it's disgusting.
And it's
barn bread.
yeah, well, it's actually fried bread, which as a kid I ate a lot of because I was raised in
And I
Italy.
said disgusting.
Yeah, it's well. It's not something I would eat these days.
Yeah.
But we liked it as kids. And I've got a little coaster here as well. And you'll notice a little bookmark here. We have different bookmarks once again, depending on the series. And once again, you can order these signed books or just unsigned books if you like.
Forgot something
From pauljbennettauthor.com.
on the top corner. What is that?
Oh, yes. So this, you might think this is a pencil case, and you could certainly use it as a pencil case, but really, if you look at the little corner here, that's a dice. This is a dice bag.
3D it in.
Roll. Oh, can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. There's a little dice attached. This is a dice bag for all those players of role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. So yeah, dice bag. And a little thank you card as well, just to say how much we appreciate you ordering from us. So yes, that's the package that we give you when you order a signed book.
All right. So I have some questions for you. Just mark where you are. I think you're about the role of relationships.
We're talking about side character growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me just. So I asked a question: have you ever changed your opinion about a character mid-read? And Cheese Narcan said, definitely changed their mind about a character mid-read in both my own stories and other books they've read. Have you ever written a character, Paul, that you changed mid-write about how that character was going to end up or their story changing?
Oh, sure. So the characterizations haven't changed. What changed was the character stuck with me. I was going to have the character die off as a plot point, and I enjoyed writing the character, and I just felt the character had a really useful purpose in the book series, and so in Warrior Lord, the main character Ludwig becomes the Baron of his lands. His father passes and he inherits the title, and the king orders him to get married. Basically, it's an arranged marriage. He travels north to another kingdom, another realm, and oops, we're changing the. I got the sinking feeling.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're changing the camera angle, and so he meets his new bride, and originally in my outline, the plan was going to be she bears him a son, and then she passes in childbirth. But I just enjoyed the character so much. I gave her some interesting issues to deal with. I don't want to give away any plot points and spoil it. And she just the character grew on me, so I decided, no, she's going to live, and her and Ludwig get along quite famously, and they complement each other very nicely.
You should probably shift to keep squishing against the paper, which is
Yeah.
a little loud. All right, now I have another question here, and it's going to take me a bit to get to it, just so I would just hum along here, because when did you fall in love with medieval fantasy?
When did I not fall in love with it? I read a lot of historical fiction. Um, I've always liked fantasy. Actually, my background growing up, I think I actually read more science fiction than fantasy, but I think that was because science fiction was more readily available. You would go to a store and you would see Heinlein and Asimov and so on, but there weren't that many um, uh, fantasy authors in stores. Bear in mind, I'm 64, almost 65 now.
Almost.
Almost. So we're talking, my youth was like in the 60s and 70s.
Oh my God, that's so
So
long
it
ago.
is, yeah. So we didn't have giant bookstores, and the selection was very light. So I was kind of a latecomer to fantasy books, but I did get into fantasy through playing Dungeons and Dragons and then eventually other role-playing games.
You read Lord of the Rings before you played D&D.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings was the exception, I think.
Yeah.
But Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Oh, I guess I see when I'm thinking back, like I read dozens of books
Yeah.
by Asimov and Heinlein, for example.
Yes.
But the number of fantasy books I read, I could probably list on maybe two hands.
Really?
Until much later, like as an adult. So yeah, there was the choice was just not there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, science fiction and fantasy share the same sort of tropes, concepts, if you will. Sci-fi used to be much more of a comment on society as a whole, whereas fantasy tends to be a little more, well, fantastic, hence the name.
Well, yeah, but fantasy's completely changed now. Like fantasy can be contemporary fantasy. It's such a broad spectrum.
Yeah, it's nice in that sense. One of the problems, it's a good problem, but one of the problems with fantasy, there are so many subgenres of fantasy now. It's almost too much to pick from. The nice thing though is because there are so many genres, once you find the genre you like, it's very easy to narrow down other books in that genre. So it's great from that perspective. If you're not sure what you want, then it's a little more daunting.
Or if you're like me and read just about everything.
Yeah, it depends entirely on what your taste is in books.
Somebody wanted to know. I'm sorry. TikTok repeats. I answer Paul's comments for him while he's talking, and it repeats on mine, so it makes it very difficult for me to find a question. So I think somebody want to know how you map out your stories. So that was the question.
Okay, how do I map out my stories?
Yeah, Thenke wanted to know, how do you map out your stories?
Okay.
I think, but the question disappeared.
I know I've met lots of authors. Everyone pretty much has their own way of doing things. Some people write things on cards, right, and then reorganize as plot points. I have a much simpler, what I consider a simpler process, one that works for me. I keep expanding on stuff. I come up with a concept, a couple of lines, I expand that to a paragraph or two. I start taking from there and expanding on it, deciding where things are going to go. This is all usually just done in a Word document. And the nice thing is it's a live document, right? I don't have to keep rewriting stuff. I can just insert a line. Usually I'm doing this in bullet form, right? In bullet items. And then you can drag and rearrange them if you want to. I usually try to hammer out sort of the main idea for each chapter. And then once I've got all the chapters, sort of a one-line description for each chapter, then I'll go back through and I'll start filling in details. So one chapter might be, I don't know, the ships leave port, for example, right? That's a major plot point maybe in the story. And then I would decide, okay, what does that involve? Now, in some cases, there's some research, right? If you've got like a medieval fantasy story, you want to know like what kind of ships do they have or whatever. And then what are the characters doing? Why are they going on this voyage? Who's going with them? What's life like aboard ship? What's at stake? These are all, you can sort of ask yourself who, what, where, why, when for each chapter, if you like. A chapter should generally somehow advance the plot, but it doesn't have to be just plot advancement. It could be a little bit of character growth. Maybe you're just delving into the background of a character or learning more about what's going on in the world at large. But if there's no point to the chapter, there's no point in having the chapter in the first place. So you want to make sure it covers off something. So this is what I do. I outline, my outlines are usually for these types of books. There'll be about 30 to 35 pages worth of bulleted items for books like these. Well, this one is a little bit bigger. It's a thicker book, so it was a bit longer outline. I think it was 40 pages or something.
Talk about the thick. People say they look at those books, say, "Oh, those are thin. You could read those in a night." And explain how you can't read them in a night.
Yeah. So most indie authors are going to use a book size similar to this, give or take a half inch either way. The reason is we have to pay printing costs per page. So the idea of using this larger format is to keep the page count down so that it's less expensive for us to order and less expensive for you as a reader to purchase. Now, let's take a look at this book here, Temple Knight. You might not think that's a very big book, but in actual fact, it is a little bit larger.
Well, no, you don't use the word large.
Larger, yeah. More words than the two times. This is about the size of The Return of the King, which is the third book. Length.
Yeah.
The same length as The Return of the King, the last book in The Lord of the Rings, which is actually even thicker than book 2.
Oh, I thought it was the same as book 2.
No, book 3 is a little bit thicker. Not that it matters. Don't worry. You get the idea. So this looks like a thick book. This does not look like a thick book. Also, we tend to keep the font size down. So if you look inside the book here, I don't remember off the top of my head what size font this is, but we can also play with the margins on the side as well to try to keep the page.
That font is tiny too. Have to look at it.
Well, so this is The Return of the King. You'll notice it's significantly bigger. So the word count on this book,
thicker.
The word count on this book is about the same as the word count on this book.
Yeah, what somebody would see.
But if you're looking at it this way.
Yeah, you'd think it's right. But it's when you look at the spine, you just assume if it's a thin spine, it's an easy read.
So very often you'll see, like you can go to the bookstore and I could pull books off the shelf that are even thicker than this, but might have the same word count.
Yeah, it's very
because what they're doing is in some cases, not all cases, there are some obviously longer books, but they'll have a larger margin and sometimes a larger font. So it makes the book look a lot thicker.
Cozy Fantasy does that.
Yeah, Cozy Fantasy tends to because Cozy Fantasy is meant to be a light read, an easy read, and the larger font makes it an easier read.
So that's interesting. When we do your Cozy Fantasy, are we going to do that? Will it end up being thicker than all the other books?
We'll have to wait and see. You're editing it now.
I'm editing it, formatting, making those decisions.
I already know the word count for it roughly, at least prior to editing anyway. So yeah, let me just get.
So that means when we publish your Cozy Fantasy, we're going to have to redo a lot of this stuff. We're going to have to do new bookmarks and things like that because people want signed copies of that too. So we're going to have to.
I will imagine so. Yes.
I have to think about that.
Well, I've already got maps that we can use.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But we have to do a Lorengard map because it's in Lorengard.
I've got a map of, well, yeah, we don't have it in this style,
No,
but
no.
yes.
All right. So we were on how side characters grow differently than the main characters.
Yes. So
distracted
it's,
you.
and of course now my tablet's just gone to sleep, so I just got to wake this up here to get back to my.
You're talking they don't. I think you pretty did that one because you talked about.
I had just finished talking about.
Yeah. So now it's the role of relationships, mentors, rivals, found family, and shaping resilience. So,
Yes. Okay. So, in Heir to the Crown, what's interesting about Heir to the Crown is the entire series is the result of the actions of one man, and it's not the main character.
no.
So I have a character named Lord Richard Fitzwilliam. He's a baron. He's the father of Beverly, who features in Sword of the Crown. And he's also sort of a mentor and friend to the character of Gerald. He is an extremely important character because he, in a sense, is the moral center of the entire series. He is the one that believes the nobility is there to serve the people.
Yes.
Rather than the other way around. He instills that belief in both Gerald and Beverly.
Yes.
Who in turn pass that on to
Anna.
Lots of other people, Anna,
yeah,
and so on. And so, in a sense, he's the reason for all this stuff happening. You know, at the end of Heir to the Crown, there's a very poignant scene. I don't want to give away what the scene is.
From Victory of the Crown?
No, from Servant of the Crown.
Okay, you said Heir to the Crown.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it is Heir to the Crown.
Well, it's Heir to the Crown series.
It's Servant of the Crown. Near the end of the book, there's a choice. Two of the characters can sort of run off and live their lives free of everything.
No romance, so.
Yeah, not in a romantic way.
Yeah, just.
They can just sort of leave and be rid of all the horrible things. But ultimately, it comes down to they can't do that because they have an obligation.
Yeah.
This obligation is something that was instilled in them by Lord Richard Fitzwilliam. So his presence is felt all the way through the series, even though he himself is not in every book, right? He even comes up again in Victory of the Crown, he's mentioned. So he's a very pivotal character. We had some earlier readers create a group
yes,
to support Lord Richard because they liked the character so much. So that was
save Lord
interesting.
Richard.
Yeah, they were worried he was gonna die in a horrible way or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of interesting to see the results of that.
So we're going to hold off on what you're talking about. Hamza wants to know, was the timeline events in your story set in advance, or did it or figure it out along the way?
A little bit of both. So the overall arc of the first 5 books I already had settled.
Yes.
After that, I sort of work in groups of 5. I knew I had a rough idea of where the second group of 5, books 6 to 10, were going to go, and the same for books 11 to 15. But the details weren't there. There was lots of stuff that I had to sort of fill in. But I mean, I never thought I'd get to book 15 when I started out.
Yes.
In fact, I didn't know I'd get past book 1, to be perfectly honest. Now, for my other series, The Frozen Flame, I knew right from the get-go how it was going to end. I didn't know the details, the exact scenes, if you like, but I knew what the ultimate ending was going to be. And the same was true for Power Ascending. I knew ahead of time where they were going. Details changed along the way. I mentioned earlier the character of Charlotte became more prominent in the storyline. But yeah, those other items were already in there, the major plot points.
All right, let me see. You can go back to.
Okay, I'll go back here
to the role of relationships.
Yes. Oh, mentors, rivals, found family. So, yeah, the Richard Fitzwilliam is a mentor, definitely, and his influence, like I said, is felt elsewhere. There's
Rebels.
other mentors as well along the way. Um, some of them actually I sort of put a twist on them because um, there's a character named Revy Bloom who is he's a mage, he's a life mage, so he does healing magic and so on. Um, and his training was incomplete. The person that was training him died before he could finish sort of training him and preparing him. But he ends up taking his own apprentice, and his apprentice, in a sense, is due to circumstances, sort of left on her own to sort of teach herself. She discovers its character named Aubrey, which is Beverly's cousin, and she discovers that her, I can't remember if she's grandmother or great grandmother, I think it was grandmother,
Grandmother.
was actually life mates, and nobody else knew about this.
It was hidden.
So she makes this discovery, and she ends up becoming very, very powerful in terms of the
Well,
use of her
that's
magic.
also because Albreda teaches her a whole different way to do it. Albreda
Yeah,
mentors her a lot
yeah.
more than Remy.
Albreda, who I mentioned earlier, she's the sarcastic one. Albreda is what's called a wild mage. So this is other mages consider wild mages dangerous because they haven't been taught what other mages believe is the sort of the discipline of the mind to channel magic. She's not bound by these preconceived ideas of what magic can do. So Albreda is extremely powerful, but other people think she's kind of like crazy powerful, unable to control her magic,
Uncontrolled magic.
uncontrolled magic.
Yeah.
So this is not the case, of course. She can control herself very well, but she also, to a certain extent, she sort of promotes this view of herself.
She leans into the wild
leans
mage.
into it. She
Yeah.
refers to herself as the Witch of the Whitewood, right? And
Yeah.
even though she's really just an Earth mage, um, but yeah, she acts as a mentor. She teaches Aubrey, and Aubrey's a different school of magic entirely, but she teaches her how to unleash the potential inside of her. So Aubrey becomes more powerful as a result. So there's a lot of mentoring um, from that perspective.
Hamza wants to know, did you ever write something in one of your books that you now regret including? I have something, but I'll see if you...
I mean, there's always stuff like I reread it and I think, oh, maybe I should have taken this part out.
Yeah. I would say in the Frozen Flame series in Ashes, you talk about shamans being just any magic user, but then as the series went along,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
changed it to be shamans were life mages,
yes,
right? And
yeah.
that happens. It's
It's an
fine tuning.
evolving world. So
Yes.
as you progress, things change slightly. I think in an earlier book, I referred to a temple captain as I used a different term.
Did you? I don't
Yeah,
remember that.
I ended up putting it in the errata sheet for modifications, but it was just
Oh.
at one place.
So then it's gone
I
because
used a different term.
I updated all the
Yeah,
errata.
so yeah, it happens. Um, uh, you'll find out in other series, even from stuff from big publishing houses, right? Like
Yeah.
authors can't necessarily keep track of everything.
Well, you've got 36 books, and although you have a very good beta team and a wonderful ARC team, we can't, there's just so much information
Yeah.
to try and remember.
Yep. Sometimes you make mistakes, and it's part of the process of writing. You just
But
have to
it's
kind of
also
accept
cool
it.
because then the avid fans have something to find. And if you ever end up going to Comic Cons or something, there's a conversation starter. They can say in book 7, in chapter 3, paragraph 2.
Yeah, like why did this character do this? Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I strive for is to have my characters act in a manner consistent with their personality. So that can be challenging at times, especially when you're juggling, large cast of characters, which is why it's sometimes handy just to give certain personality quirks to certain characters, just to make them sort of stand out. For example, um, I mentioned earlier that Aubrey is the cousin of Beverly. So Aubrey uses the term cousin a lot
Does,
when she
does,
talks
yeah.
to Beverly. And that's just a sort of a little thing to sort of for me to keep in mind. It's also interesting too because when you first meet Aubrey, she's like a young girl, like literally she's I think no, she's even younger than 13. I think I can't remember how old she
'Cause
is.
she's little. She sits on her
Oh,
dad's
oh,
lap.
that's right. She's still sitting on her dad's lap
Yeah.
and being carried off for bedtime stories. So she's actually younger. And Beverly is slightly older. She's like a teenager by this point in the story. And then they keep that friendship going. Like they're cousins. They don't really see each other very much because their two homes are hundreds of miles apart, basically in the kingdom. Um, but yeah, they once they sort of get together later on, they become part of the same sort of group, the same found family to keep on
Yeah.
the topic
Yeah.
at hand. And so that's kind of fun to play with.
Crazy Fruit says hola, and they want to know, and I am translating this, and I am not a native of the language, but they want to know what genre you write in, fantasy or science fiction. I could have that wrong.
Okay, so the genre I write in is definitely fantasy. I write different types of fantasy. So Heir to the Crown is epic fantasy. So it deals with the building of a kingdom. Where are we here? So this is about kingdom building. Eventually, the first book not so much, but it kind of leads into that direction.
Session Zero is the first book.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
My series, The Frozen Flame, is what we call sword and sorcery. It's very much it's essentially two mages or what you might call wizards on the run. They team up, and the main concept is that together they're more powerful than they are separately because they sort of complement each other so well, and so on. And in a sense, that's kind of like Carol and I. I like to think we're better as a pair than we are individually.
Yes, and let's keep that going.
Yeah. And then this one is the first book in Power Ascending. And this is military fantasy. So this is fantasy, but from a military point of view. It follows two characters. Every odd book covers this character, Charlene. She joins a religious fighting order called the Temple Knights of St. Agnes. The even numbered books, which will have a blue tinted cover, are called the Warrior books, Warrior Knight, Warrior Lord, and so on. They follow a character named Ludwig Althaven, who is a member of the nobility, and he rises through the nobility.
Altenburg.
Altenburg, yeah,
Not
sorry.
Althaven, that's
Althaven, that's right.
city in the game you're
Yes,
running on
yes.
Saturdays.
Too many names.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so that's military fantasy. And right now I'm working on a drop in the bucket, which is a cozy fantasy, which is kind of more of a light, humorous read.
Very humorous. Laugh out loud humorous.
Curl up with a cup of whatever your favorite drink is and just read that when you want to relax.
Someone said something, but I don't understand what they said, so I can't ask it. Just no more questions. So you were talking about moments, you did relationships, but moments where characters break and how they rebuild themselves. You talk about Gerald at first when he loses everything.
Yeah, so Gerald actually goes through a lot of trauma in
Which
his
book is that
life. In Servant, where are we here? Servant of the Crown. It starts off right with the prologue. Things go bad, and then we have a
How
bit
bad?
Well, he looks like he's going to die, basically.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. So then we get sort of a flashback to his earlier years. He loses his parents to raiders. He struggles to survive. He escapes the raiders and he has to like kind of live in the wilderness for a little bit. He gets rescued by Lord Richard, who's not much older than he is actually at this point in time. And he's taken back to the keep and he gets a job working in the stables.
Yes.
And then I don't want to give away the entire plot, but later on he grows up, he becomes a warrior. He has a wife and child. Unfortunately, things don't go
according to plan. That's a nice way of saying.
And once again, he gets to a point where he's just ready to throw in the towel. He wants to take vengeance on the enemy. He just about dies. He's rescued yet again by Lord Richard. It's actually the last time Lord Richard rescues him.
Yeah.
And he's near death.
Yeah.
But he ends up turning his life around. He makes a life for himself. He doesn't get married again or anything like that in this book. But he gets wounded, and without the aid of a life mage, he's stuck with a limp. Now, some people don't like having a character that's walking around with a limp.
Yeah, we had a comment from one of the beta readers. You
Yeah,
had to mention it.
so it doesn't last forever. There is a reason.
Yes.
You know, something happens that he eventually does get it cured. So he's not going through the entire book being like this.
Yeah.
Just so you know. But it's an important plot point.
Yes.
Especially what happens when he finally does get cured. That's a huge thing. So there's a reason for that. And just randomly give him a limp.
No.
There's a reason behind that. So then we kind of flash back to that opening scene. He doesn't end up dying, but his career is over.
Yes.
He's sent away in disgrace, or at least he sees it as being sent away in disgrace. But he finds a new life, and the events that unfold have far bigger consequences for the kingdom, far-reaching consequences for the kingdom than you could ever imagine.
Oliver Moore goes, as an educated guess, I'm feeling that this chap, which I assume is you, would choose a Porsche over a Ferrari. No, you wouldn't choose either.
I wouldn't choose either. I'm not big into sports cars. I'd rather have a nice, comfortable ride.
SUV.
An SUV. To give you some idea, I used to have a Camry, and now we've got a Hyundai Tucson.
Yes.
So, I'd rather have a comfortable ride than something that's flashy and
even your younger years, you weren't in the flash.
Yeah, I've never been a real car buff. I was much more interested in tanks and aircraft and military stuff.
Whereas I always wanted a convertible.
Yeah.
Now I don't.
Yeah. Too windy.
yes, I saw Bridget Jones. That Egyptian YouTuber says, do the books have an audiobook version on Audible? And
some do. You can get the first 4 books to Heir to the Crown through Audible. I think that's on other platforms too, isn't it? Or
yes, it is wide.
Wide. And then the Frozen Flame, the entire Frozen Flame series is available on Audible.
And Spotify.
Oh, and Spotify as well.
And a lot of streaming services.
Yeah.
It's been opened up. So now, the Bearded Book Dragon wants to know, are all your books connected? And are they from the same world?
Love the name, Bearded Book Dragon.
That's why I said it. I thought you might like that.
Yes. So all my books, all of them take place in the same world of what we call Eidenworth, or what we named Eidenworth.
How did we come up with that name?
And that name was actually, in our newsletter, we asked people to suggest names. And actually, Eidenworth is a combination of 2 of the names that we kind of put together.
Well, you're on the topic of the newsletter.
Yes.
Why should someone sign up for your newsletter?
So if you sign up, well, first of all, how do you sign up for my newsletter? You go to pauljbennettauthor.com. On your first visit there, you should get a pop-up.
Yes.
If you don't, I think you can go to the menu and
yes, you can
as well. Doesn't cost you anything to sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter goes out twice a week. Well, once a week.
Once a week.
But at 2 different times. So depending on where you are, it's split in for different time zones.
No, it's resent if you don't have a chance to read it. It's just a bump to remind you. So
yeah. We usually have articles in there. I'll write. I kind of like it because it makes me accountable, because I talk about what my progress is in my latest book, like how many words I've got, stuff like that, or maybe a little interesting tidbit without giving away the plot. I'll comment on what we're doing on the home front. If we're going out for a play or something. Usually the other articles are either something historical or something about my gaming group. So there's been lots of different stuff I've done over the years. I featured pictures of some of the characters from my upcoming Cozy Fantasy book, actually. in an episode or two. I think I spread it over 4 or 5.
You did all 6
newsletters.
characters, all got a feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's also we do book swaps with other authors,
So
you can
free
see other
books.
authors with free books that you can
And you
download.
give away free books.
And we give away free books. We
And
have every newsletter we do a quiz or a question or survey, or whatever you want to
yeah,
call it.
yeah.
And sometimes we just ask something like, what kind of books do you like?
Tea or
Or
coffee.
tea or coffee, or it could be anything. But if you enter that and your name gets drawn, you get a free ebook of your choice. So we have fun with
And
that.
around Christmas, we get very generous.
Yep, usually at Christmas we give away some free ebooks as well.
Yeah, and we're soon going to be putting in coupons just for our newsletter subscribers to buy your books through your website.
Yep, and the website, of course, is pauljbennettauthor.com.
And if they get a signed book, what's all that, Paul?
All this stuff, as we mentioned earlier, you get when you get a signed book.
Well,
The maps, the bookmark, and the
we've just
recipe
lost our
will-
connection.
Oh, did we?
Yes.
Did
Now
we?
we're back. Say hi.
And we're back. The internet burped.
The internet burped. All right. So I have a question here. Did you ever have to kill off a character you'd love to write? You can answer that, but you can't say which series or which character.
I have killed off a couple of characters.
And I cried.
Yes, but I have to say that that was planned from the very beginning.
I know. I still cried a lot.
It's still hard to write, one more so than the other, because one of them you witness
Yes.
the death, the other one you only hear about it after the fact, but it has a lot of meaning.
It was interesting because when we do the editing process, Paul writes the story and then I edit it and then I give it back to him for the final read through. And he reads it out loud and I sit there and make sure there's no errors. And as he was reading this death scene, he had to stop because he was getting emotional. And he's the one who wrote the scene.
Yeah, I had to write that scene in one go. It was
Yeah.
too tough because it is emotional, right?
Oh, it's so emotional.
It's a beloved character, and you don't want, you want to do it justice.
Yeah.
So it was I think it was very effective too.
It was good.
And what I like too is the death had meaning.
It did.
It wasn't just a random somebody
it was
got
planned.
stabbed.
It unfortunately needed to happen.
It was actually foretold.
The Bearded Book Dragon says that they're going to sign up for your newsletter, and that's cool. They all take place in the same world.
Yep.
And then, so Oliver Moore he says his favorite author of all time is Bryce Courtney, Australian of South African descent and a great storyteller. Have you ever heard of Bryce Courtney?
I have not. Might be one worth looking up though.
Bixi2Fe, BXI2FE, Canada. Have you ever read 640 to Montreal by Eva Jerza?
No.
No. Okay. Those are your questions for right now.
I did read a lot of political thrillers by Richard Romer, though.
What? I didn't know.
So Richard Romer is a Canadian author.
I think this is before my time.
Yeah, it was before we were married. So Richard Romer is what I don't think he's written anything in years. I could be wrong because I don't really read that genre anymore. But he has a whole bunch of books. It was based around like the oil crisis. That tells you how old the storyline was, and it's just very.
We've been married 40 years. That tells you how old the storyline is.
Very, very timely. I don't know that it would necessarily work today, because it kind of relies on things back at that time. I guess you could read it as sort of an alternate history kind of a storyline. But yeah, and he was a general in the Canadian military, I believe.
So I have a question here for you. And he's asked it 2 times. JD Brown says, can you tell us how you turned your books into audiobooks?
Yes, we paid, we went and we found someone else to do it.
No, we didn't. We were approached.
Well, yeah, we were approached by Tantor for the Heir to the Crown series.
And approached by Podium.
And approached by Podium for the Frozen Flame series. And so if you want it, now we know people that have done their own audiobooks. Yeah. And I don't mean they recorded them themselves. I mean, they went through the process of
hiring. We did that with one of them.
And auditioning, yes.
So
we worked with
Greg Patmore,
who's a wonderful, he's actually an English actor that
Yeah.
does reading. He had actually done the first 3 books of Heir to the Crown under Tantor, and then we hired him independently to do
Yeah.
the 4th book in the series.
Yeah, and so we did it through Audible.
Yeah.
ACX.
Yeah.
I think that answers his question. Now, you were talking about, I think your next one would be how long-term arcs differ across your connected world of Idenworth. And if you
Oh,
want to hold
yeah.
up a
Okay.
book, so the first one's Heir to Crown, and what's the long-term arcs, or each one's different. So you might want to hold up the book so people know
Yeah.
which series you're talking about.
When I talk long-term arcs, we're talking about the arc of the entire series. So I often use the term for Heir to the Crown. I call it my grand trilogy because it's a trilogy, but it's a trilogy of 5 books per. So it's 15 books.
Yeah.
Because I looked up what 15 bookology was, and it's just unpronounceable. So a grand trilogy. The first 5 books are essentially one complete storyline. It's about the rise to power of a ruler of a kingdom based on a warrior culture. Book 6 to 10 deal with an overarching story about the sort of the coming of age of the ruler and sort of protecting the kingdom. The last 5 books essentially tie all of the series together in one climactic great big war, kind of like their equivalent of a world war, if you think, or
Yeah.
that's how grand it is. Now, having said that, if I go back here, Ashes, I mentioned earlier, it's about 2 mages on the run, but there's a lot more to it than that. The one character is fleeing from a nefarious group of evil mages. We'll leave it at that for now. And
Mages with a different outlook on life.
yeah, and it's all about the struggle because you get to see the enemy point of view and everything. They're struggling to capture her, Natalia, one of
Yeah.
the main characters, and it's all about this constant power struggle and what it actually almost accidentally leads to. And in the grand finale, there's a big showdown at the very end. And so that story wraps up. But the characters in this cross over into Savior of the Crown and Victory of the Crown.
Okay.
Now, last but certainly not least, we have these books, Power Ascending. And Power Ascending, the entire series deals with the big bad evil guys. So the big bad in the world of Idenworth at this point in time is something called the Halvarian Empire. And Charlene is fighting them from day one. But she's part of a religious fighting order, not a kingdom. So it's kind of like an undeclared war in a sense. And she gets involved in a lot of this, and she rises through the ranks because of her struggles with the enemy. She becomes important in the fight against them. That fight also ties into the Frozen Flame, although you won't necessarily see that until you read the last books in Heir to the Crown.
Yeah.
And these characters, Charlene and Ludwig, appear in Victory of the Crown. So those characters have ended up just in the right place at the right time to sort of help save the rest of the world.
Okay. I have some more questions. Chris Rui wants to know, why does he not see booktubers reviewing your series?
I don't know. You tell me. Anyone wants to review? Let me know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, you've sold over 250,000 books.
Yeah.
You're not a big person who brags. We do give away the first in series. So we know over 500,000 downloads have been of your books.
Yeah.
So that's 500,000 people have been with your books.
Yeah.
And you have an average of 4.3 stars on all the major
Yeah.
reviews, so they're good.
Yeah. So we're doing okay. I mean, certainly we'd love to sell more.
Yeah, please buy.
Please buy. Check out pauljbennettauthor.com.
Because you can get stuff like this.
Yeah.
They
They make good presents.
Except you don't get the Hawker Hurricane mug.
No,
Someone
no,
should move that.
that's mine. I'll move that out of the way. I need a sip anyway.
Now, I have some more questions and then we're going to be done.
Oh,
it's 8
oh.
before. What?
Wait. There's more. If you order more than one book, you get some extra stuff that I forgot to
Extra
mention.
stubs. What stuff?
We have another bookmark.
What does it say?
It says, "Let the adventure
Our
begin."
tagline.
We have one of these. So I don't know if you've ever seen
You
these,
put
but
your
you
thumb
use
in it.
these.
Yeah.
They're like a thumb book holder.
So that your thumb doesn't get sore. Now
There
turn
you
it
go.
around.
So you can open your book up like this and hold it open
With one hand.
with one hand. Amazing. And
But wait, there's more.
we have things like this. Look at this. It's a creature card. This is a thornling, which features in Embers. So it gives you a little bit of a detail about one of the creatures and what book they appear in.
So how do they get those cards?
You get these by ordering books through our website,
And
pauljbennetauthor.com.
the book that they're featured in.
Yes, you should be getting one that deals, for example, this one's with Temple Captain.
So if you bought Temple Captain,
you would get this one.
yes.
Right. So,
Not all the books have creatures, but these all creatures.
yeah,
Paul, these
and
are
there's also because the power sending books also deal with one of the religions.
Yeah.
There's more than one religion in this
Yeah.
world. We have saint cards as well. So Saint Agnes and Saint Ansgar.
So
Tells
how
you a
did
little
they
bit
get
about-
those?
Well, you would have to get one of the power sending books to get
More than one.
more than one.
Yes. These are if you buy 2 or more books.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are extras. We like to reward people that buy
Yes.
more books.
We
And they have to be
may-
physical books.
We may eventually make them collectible things that you can buy under
Yeah.
our merch.
Oh,
We're
and here's
working on
the
that.
what the other bookmarks
bookmarks.
look like. So we have this one doesn't have a tassel on it. Oh, there's one with a tassel on it.
Yes.
So this is from Power Sending.
Ooh.
And notice there's like a blue one and a sort of an orange.
Because the
one.
books are 2
Yeah.
colors.
And then there's the Frozen Flame.
Yeah.
Now this one would also have tassels. This
No,
just
it does not have
does
a
not have
tassel
tassels.
because it flips.
Oh, yes, that's right. It flips the other way.
It's different. Gotta have them different.
They got nice rounded corners on them.
So Anthony Marquez wants to say he can't wait to read your books. They're next on their list.
Well, glad to hear it. Hope you enjoy them.
Yeah. And Chris Ruby, if you want to review his books,
Sure.
you can start any of his series for free if you download a digital book from the website,
That's right. You can get these in digital format from our website.
but not Temple Night.
Not Temple Night, sorry.
That was a special we did once.
We do that on occasion, yes.
Yes.
But these two, Ashes and Servant of the Crown, are available in ebook format
Okay.
for free from our website.
All right. So Cheese Narcan has a question for you. In a fighting scene, ones that go on for a while, like an individual 1v1 or 2v1 or something similar, how do you lay out that for the reader that at its best for each sword swing or attack?
So usually what I do, this is more prevalent in the earlier books in the series because quite frankly, as the characters get more important, it's more likely to be a battle than an individual fight. So I usually start off with a blow-by-blow description, and then it gets to the point where it's just sights and sounds and overall feelings. So you kind of get the impression that it's continuing. They're getting exhausted.
Yeah.
In Temple Night, for example, there's a scene where Charlene and some of her fellow sister knights are fighting these raiders on the coast, and they're bashing away at each other, but everyone's wearing plate armor, so no one's really hurting anybody.
Yes.
But they're getting exhausted just from swinging the weapons over and over and over and putting dents in armor and everything, right?
Yeah.
So you tend to concentrate on stuff like that. You don't want to have to choreograph an entire battle, but by the same token, you want them to have their own sort of maybe techniques. Like Gerald will often use his shield. He'll use the edge of his shield, not just to block shots, but to like poke people and force them back and things like that. One thing too is a choice of weapons can sometimes make a big difference. Beverly occasionally fights two-handed weapons, so she or two separate weapons, a sword and her hammer, or dual wield is the word I'm looking for, or the expression.
Yeah.
And she has a magic hammer as well, so that's kind of fun. She
Nature's Fury.
Nature's Fury that has 3 abilities. So it can speed her up. It can send vines flying out.
And it lightning, doesn't it?
No, lightning is Stormhammer. That's Kazra's
okay.
Hammer. Yeah, I have a dwarf character that has a hammer that throws lightning.
You don't have a lot of magic weapons, do you?
No.
Few and far
In
between.
the role playing game it's based on, we have lots of magic, but in
Yes.
books, I like to keep the magic at a lower level.
Yes.
So it keeps the focus on the characters, not so much their magic items.
And your books are that way. There can be a lot of chapters without any fighting, and your game style's that way. We can have 3 adventures where we never have a fight.
Yeah.
Intrigue.
Intrigue is fun, especially political intrigue if it works. In a game setting, sometimes it depends on what the players are kind of into.
Yes.
I've had some players that all they want to do is fight.
Yes.
So yeah,
we've
we
had that.
usually like to throw a fight in so they get to do stuff they like.
Yes.
I've done murder mysteries, not just murder mysteries. Sometimes it's like a theft or something.
I remember there's a cat burglar. Jewelry was stolen.
Yes, that's right. A jewel thief.
Yes.
That was targeting rich people, but there was a whole story of why and who it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, it ended up being a noble's daughter.
A noble's daughter, and actually, to be perfectly honest, that was the daughter of Ludwig, who became the main character.
Yeah.
Now the daughter doesn't exist in the books. That was changed, but yeah, that was the inspiration for the character of Ludwig.
Ray wants you to know that they love your work. That's what they said.
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear that.
And JD Brown wants to say thank you because you talked about how you did audiobooks, and they apologize because they were busy working. So if anybody else has any other questions, write them in now, because we're soon going to be signing off because it's almost 8:45 where we are.
Yeah. Or come back next week and join us again, and you can ask us.
Or you can send an email to paul@pauljbennetauthor.com. It's pretty easy. Cheese Narcan said, because they're writing a book, so they like coming each week and asking you for advice. They've been I think this is their 5th or 6th live they've been to. Yes.
I love talking to other authors, whether it's an author in training, as it were, or one that's published.
They talked on your TikTok today that they were coming. So they say they understand what you said about fighting. Their fight scenes are at most likely to be small amount of character versus another small amount, or one of their good characters in an outnumbered fight. They do have a few select battles.
Yep.
But mostly 1 versus 2, 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2, stuff like that are most of their fight scenes.
Yeah, I can understand that. I had in Sword of the Crown, the character of Beverly finds it hard to be accepted as a knight.
Yes.
And she has to constantly prove herself.
Yeah.
Now, it's in a society where Merceria does have the occasional female knights, but they're not that common.
No, and the king on the throne is pretty
bad. Yeah, we'll just call him bad.
Well,
he's a tyrant.
Yes.
Anyway, she has to prove herself because she wants to become the bodyguard to someone else.
Yeah, she wants a job.
Don't want to give the plot away, but she ends up, at this point, she's already been dueled quite a few times over the course of the book, but this is like a new group. She has to set the tone very quickly, so she takes on 3 individuals at a time, like 3 at once.
Yes.
3 on 1. And I think, if I recall, she uses her sword and hammer. So she's dual wielding.
Yeah.
And she defeats them very quickly.
Handily, yeah.
She handles them very, very quickly. And it was a fun scene to write, because I could imagine it unfolding in my head as I wrote it. So
John Graham Book says, wonderful. So he's enjoying what you're talking about.
Great.
And then Cheese Narcan says, thank you so much. They really enjoy coming every week and learning, and really enjoy listening to experienced authors share their experiences.
Yeah, it's fun to hear people coming back, and it's like having a community of friends in a sense. So it's kind of nice to share stuff.
And it's interesting when you talk community, because a couple months ago we went to a book fair, and we just went to see what it was like.
Yeah.
And then we went a second time, and we had your book there, and we met lots of wonderful authors.
Yep.
But we really didn't know what we were doing, because had never done book events. And then the third book event we went to, we actually sold quite a few books, and it was an absolute wonderful thing. But what's your favorite thing other than meeting your fans, what's your favorite thing about going to the book events?
Walking around talking to all the other authors.
Yes.
Uh,
And what's my favorite thing?
selling books.
Yes.
You love to sell.
I love to sell
You're
books.
born to sell.
Yes, yes.
So yeah,
If you have a book event coming up in the new year that's within a 2-hour drive of London, shoot us an email and maybe we'll come and you can get signed book in person. We're
Yep.
going to try and do one every 4 to 6 weeks. So
yeah,
really
we're
enjoyed
just
it.
starting to sort of spread our wings around southwestern Ontario.
Yeah.
So for us, Toronto is about the upper limit, or
Yeah.
Windsor, the
Or
other
if you have a
direction.
local bookstore that you think would want us to go do a book signing, we haven't tried that. We
Yep.
have done some book signings long ago.
When we didn't have as
before
many
20
books.
before 2020, we
Yep.
did 2 or 3 and they were enjoyable.
Yep.
So we would do those again. We're probably going to do some Indigo in the new year, but it would also be nice to do them independent bookstores too.
Yep.
Give them some business.
Yep.
So I think I just have to see if you have any other questions. TikTok likes to do its own thing. JD Brown said something and then TikTok did something. Said, please keep up the great work. Keep posting. I can't wait to read your next work when they're not writing. And I think that's everything. So if you want to say goodbye and just remind people what they can get when they go to your website.
Yes, I just wanted to double check what our
Next week is
topic
story
was.
time moments that define
Define destiny.
destiny.
So destiny by itself is a whole topic.
So what does that mean? Story time. So you can get out a pipe and
yeah, maybe I should get a
Masterpiece
fake
Theater?
pipe. I don't smoke, so
yeah,
yeah, I need patches for my sweater if I'm going to do that.
that's not happening. I'm too busy.
So yeah, we'll talk about the concept of destiny in general. We
Yeah.
can go pretty much anywhere with that, and as usual, we'll be answering questions. Once again, before we sign off, I'd invite you to come and meet us at pauljbennetauthor.com. We have books there. We have, what are you doing?
The books
You're pointing at
beside
the
you.
books. Okay.
Well, you can't see it, but I give Paul little prompts. But sometimes I have to speak.
We have books there. We have ebooks there you can download. We have some free ebooks you can download.
2 of those 3 are free.
2 of these are free. We also have information on the lore of the world of Idenworth and which
Bestiary, chronological order of your books.
Yep, chronological order and
same.
also order of publishing, just if you're curious how they were released. And all this stuff if you order signed books and things.
All this stuff.
All this stuff.
You're so efficient. Cheese and Arcana is actually in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so they don't think they'll be able to come to a book signing.
Yeah, that's
anytime soon.
fair.
And that's a little far for us to go because Tilly and Hazel. Well, Tilly's fine, but Hazel doesn't like being away from us. She's a Basset. She gets very sad.
Yeah.
So do you want to sign
So
off?
thanks for joining us, and
See you
hopefully
next
we'll see you
Tuesday.
back here next Tuesday at 6:30.